Okay, we finished wet sanding. It's nice and flat, nice even finish. Sanded it down to 2000 grit, and now it's ready for buffing. Hopefully you can see how it's smooth and flat, but it's not a real high shine. So when we take it to the buffing wheel and buff it, you'll see the difference. And the thing to look for is the reflection of lights. If you can see the light reflecting in it, the light is kind of hazy. After I polish it and you see the reflection of a light in it, it'll be nice and crisp like a mirror. Here's the buffing wheel. I've got 2 pads on it. This is going to be for one finishing compound, and this will be for a super fine finishing compound. That's the hard part, trying to get in that cove when it's a deep curve like that. It's really hard to get the wheel in there. Don't know if you can see the difference yet. A little bit shinier on that side than up here. Got things pretty good with the medium compound. Now we're moving over to the fine compound wheel, which will give a good high gloss polish on it. If you see a light reflecting in it, and remember how it kind of looked really blurry before, now you can see it's almost like looking in a mirror. Now you can see it's got the nice high polish finish. Any other spots that I see that looks like it's not quite as bright as it should be, I'll hit that by hand with that polishing liquid. So that's the process. Next video we'll talk about the nut and how I do it, and we'll wire it all up and try it out, see what it sounds like. Okay, we finished polishing, and then off camera I did some boring stuff, like I mounted the neck on and I put the electronics in. Now I have to make the nut, so I'm going to go over to this other workstation and we'll work on the nut. Here we are. I've got a blank bone nut, and I use a scale to mark out where the strings go. This is about 1 9/16 inch wide. The strings are not evenly spaced. As you get toward the bass side, this is the treble high E string, and this is the bass low E string. As the strings get closer down here, they get a little further apart because the strings are a little thicker, and you have to allow for that. So we start out with the spacing, and then I will start making a little groove in there. Now there's another thing that we have to do, the compensation. So what that means is all of this part of the bone will be cut away down to the level of the fretboard. And then when I get it in the guitar, I may need to change some of that compensation. I use this little fret slotting file to get each of the string slots started. They're not going to be very deep at this point, so it looks like I'm doing fine. This low E string, looks like it's cut a little bit too far to the edge. The others are right on. That's why I just get it started at this point, but I can see that needs to go over Not a problem at all. We can just, work it over there. Building guitars is not about getting them perfect right away. It's really about knowing how to correct the mistakes that you make along the way. Okay, so I've got the string spacing exactly where I want it. This low E string I had to move over a little bit. An important consideration when making nuts. They have to be done exactly. They have to be precise, or your guitar is just not going to sound good. And because of that, a lot of people don't like to make nuts. If you get toward the end of filing a nut and you make a little mistake, you usually can't fix it. You have to throw it away and start all over again. And you could spend a lot of time making a nut and blow it away. Especially with compensated nuts, I can spend up to 3 hours just making one compensated nut. Now, a regular nut with no compensation, 20 minutes and it's done. Now, a typical nut that's not compensated, it's just flat across the fretboard like this is now. You want to make sure that when you're filing the nut, that the string only touches at the front of the nut. And I can show you what's going on here. If this is the fretboard and this is the nut and the string is coming off here, you don't want the slot in the nut to come straight across and then the string go down to the tuner. There's several problems with that. One is there's a large area here where the nut is grabbing onto the string and creating friction, and it prevents you from tuning that string properly. And even if you get it tuned up right to pitch, because of the friction there as you're playing, the string may go out of tune. So it's real critical that the string only touches the nut right at that one spot, and the slot from thereafter is going to come away from the string down toward the headstock this way, and the string is actually going to come back and not even touch the nut in this area. Only right there will the string touch it. The nut slot will be tight against the string right at the front here, but again, it's going to curve away from the string so the string doesn't touch the sides of the nut back here either. So it's as if you had a nut that was only that big. Okay, so it's been a couple hours. I've got the string slots down about where I want them, and they're angled down this way. It may not be easy to see on camera, but the slots angled down toward the headstock. You can see how I've got the compensation roughed in. That's pretty close to how it's going to be finished. The top has been rounded and smooth. It's almost done at this point. We're going to take and put it on the guitar now to do the final slotting of the nut. Okay, we've got that nut I've been working on in that little vise. We're going to put it in the neck and do the final slotting. I use that just to lift the strings up. The final adjusting can't be done off of the guitar. You have to have strings on it. Now, I don't know if the camera can show this, but for example, on this string, notice that it'll pivot right here as I push down. So you can see the string going down here. It's not hitting on the nut. It's only hitting on the nut right at the front here. That's critical. Also, when it's in there, you may notice there's a little space on either side toward the back of the nut. Up here it's tight, but back there you can see how there's some space and the string can go side to side. So right now what we're going to do is get this all finished, make sure that the strings are the right height above the fret. I like my fret action to be very low. Most people will start out on the high E string at about 10 thousandths. I like to go 8.5 to 9. I have to use this digital caliper to get that accurate. That just fits right over the fret. It has a little plunger here. Let's go to the high E string. That's about 11.5 to 12. That's about what I thought it would be. Okay, that would have been amazing if it had come out 8.5. The second string, 10.5 to 11. That's good. That's about where I'd want it. 14.5. That's a little high, so we're going to bring that one down. The D string, we're just going to take the string out of the slot and bring that down just a hair. And notice as I file, I angle it down toward the headstock. We need that little bit of relief down there. So the material that I use, I like bone. I don't like the plastic nuts that come on guitars. This is from cows, bovine bone. You can get buffalo bone if you like to have something a little unique. And in fact, there's a source where you can get woolly mammoth tusk material to make your nuts out of. A little bit expensive because it's in very limited supply. But, you know, some people like to say, yeah, my nut is made out of mammoth tusk. Well, I use cow bone. Anyway, looks like we've got them down about where we want to go. And then in the slot there for the nut, I'll just put a couple of spots of glue. The strings are pushing down tight on the nut, and the slot keeps it from moving around forward and back, but it can still move side to side. So we put a little glue under it just to hold it there. So one thing we want to go over, the guitar's finished now, but I do want to explain a little bit about the electronics. There's nothing really special, only one thing on this. It's pretty typical. It's a three-way switch, which switches this pickup or both of them together. I've got a volume control for the neck pickup, a separate volume control for the bridge pickup, and a tone control. Now, a lot of people complain that the tone control, even when it's on fully high, it can suck a little tone out of your guitar. And a lot of people like to put in what's called a no-load tone pot. What that means is as you turn the pot up fully, it'll get to a point where it actually clicks off and essentially removes that bit of electronics from the circuit so you don't have that load. Well, I do something a little bit unique to make it a little bit more convenient. I put it in a little micro switch. So when the switch is down, the tone control is functional. And you can set the tone control where you like it generally. And then instead of turning it all the way, you just flip that and it electronically takes it out of the circuit. So you don't even need a no-load tone pot. There's no tone pot there. And I'll show you what we're talking about. In the back, and of course my cavity covers, they're held on with magnets, no screws, which is kind of nice. There's the tone pot, there's the capacitor, and here's the switch. So when I flip the switch, it just removes the tone pot electronically. It just removes it. It's no longer there. There's no electrical load to the circuit. So you get absolute pure tone coming through. So, done. That's how we make a guitar. It's exciting to me. I could never work in a factory where there's a lot of automation. I just really enjoy the hands-on, just doing everything myself. Every guitar is unique. There are no two guitars the same. Here's one that I'm working on here. You may see a slightly different body design. Okay, so this is the latest bass that I've been working on. It's kind of fun. I'm really anxious about getting this one completed because I think it's going to really sound special. The wood, very unique. The body is what's called Osage orange. That's all natural. The fretboard is African bloodwood, and the fret markers are the Osage orange, just like in the body. So it kind of ties the neck in with the body. Also, the controls on it I made those out of the bloodwood like what's on the fretboard. So it kind of pulls everything together. The back of the body is one of my favorite woods. It's called black limba. Obviously, I need to finish hooking up all the wiring. I really love the look of black limba. Just the grain pattern and the colors are just so gorgeous.